This is the Monday Night Raw April 28, 2025 full show results video which takes place at T-Mobile Center in Kansas City, Missouri. Seth Rollins, Paul Heyman, and Braun Breaker makes their entrance and Rollins says this here is the future of the industry. He runs down a long list of people who the future is not and says with Paul Heyman to his left and Braun Breaker to his right, the future of this industry runs through Seth Rollins. Sami Zayn interrupts him and asks how much time he spent talking about Punk and Reigns, and then the one thing those guys had in common is standing over his shoulder now. Rollins looks confused and Sami puts the bang on it and asks how he's supposed to be different from CM Punk? And maybe this deep-seated hatred for Punk was just jealousy and he just wanted to be in the position he was in. Sami points out what a coincidence it is that this vision revolves around him. Seth says he's just the best man for the job, and Zayn says he's a hypocrite and this is just the bloodline, with his Wiseman and his little dog. Sami tells Braun if he keeps looking at him like that he's gonna get his face kicked in. Then Rollins says Zayn came out here to be honest, so he'll be honest in return, and this is the vision for the future, and either you're with him or you become a target. That's not a threat, he doesn't want that, and it doesn't matter if he hates him or loves him like he does, if he stands in the way he'll be a target. He doesn't want this to come to blows and Heyman can pull some strings and get Sami moved off of Raw as they have to, since clearly he's not buying in, so maybe they can cash him out. He keeps saying it's not a threat and he keeps threatening Sami, describing it as an offer, a favor, and that he should just think about it, but they need an answer by the end of the night. Then we saw a match between Rhea Ripley versus Roxan Perez, and the result of this match was Rhea Ripley won the match by disqualification when Rhea Ripley goes to finish the match, but Julia attacked Rhea Ripley to cause disqualification. Post-match, Perez and Julia beat Ripley down for a beat but Io Sky makes the save. A little bit of back and forth and eventually the babyfaces stand tall. There's lots of chatter in the Judgment Day clubhouse as Finn Balor rolls up to welcome JD McDonough back and takes him aside to ask why he didn't tell him he was coming back. McDonough explains that he told Dominic Mysterio and figured it'd get back to Finn. They go back and forth at it and Liv Morgan rolls up and tells them to get ready for their match. What match? JD went and got a match against War Raiders to start getting them back to the tag titles, and Liv was supposed to tell Balor but she was busy, whoops-a-doodle-doo. Finn grumbles but goes off to get ready and Carlito takes a chomp of apple and asks when his turn to win a title will be. Back from the commercial, Logan Paul makes his entrance and gets on the mic. He calls the crowd stupid at some length and says main event Jey Uso does not look like a legend. And he's done everything in this industry except win a world title, so Uso's days are numbered, because he's got something Logan wants. Main event Jey Uso comes, and says we're gonna silence this noise because Paul thinks he's just gonna hand his title over to some punk-ass YouTuber? Logan makes a big dramatic show of rolling his eyes and tells Uso he sounds stupid and this is how it's gonna go, he's gonna take the title and Jey will do what he does best, crash out, screw up, and lose in less time than he held the Intercontinental Championship. So enjoy it while you still can, and Uso takes him out with a super kick. The next match happened between Judgment Day versus War Raiders, and the result of this match was War Raiders defeated Judgment Day by pinfall with War Machine on JD McDonough. Backstage, Paul Heyman takes a seat next to Sami Zayn and says he respected Sami's reasons for leaving the bloodline and he hopes someday Zayn will respect his reasons for doing what he's doing now. He tells Zayn that Braun Breaker is demanding a match against him and neither he nor Seth Rollins can turn him away, but if Sami accepts being traded to SmackDown he can get away from it. He's spoken to Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis and as a favor, he's gotten Sami a WWE Championship match against the winner of John Cena vs Randy Orton. That's how much Seth Rollins thinks of him. Paul tells him to think of his future and his family's future, and either he can live with the future or die with the past. Becky Lynch makes her entrance and gets on the mic, and says Bayley got attacked and taken out of her WrestleMania match but there will be no weeks-long investigation, she's reviewed the footage and she did it. She tells the crowd not to feign outrage and act like the bad guy and says Bayley has attacked her repeatedly since 2019 and has never apologized to her. She mocks Bayley for whining about not being a bigger star and says she got to see what a bigger star looks like when she walked down the aisle at WrestleMania. That brings her to Lyra Valkyria, and the enemy of your enemy is your friend works in reverse, and the friend of your enemy is your enemy. She tried to save her, tried to get her to ditch that bitch, and she sure wouldn't have won the tag titles with Bayley, but she's already compromised, already a loser. Then comes Lyra Valkyria, and says she's gonna make her pay for what she did to her and Bayley, and as she gets in the ring, Becky bails. Lyra taunts her and asks if she's thinking about how she beat her for the NXT Championship last time they fought one-on-one. Valkyria says she should have seen that coming, so fine then, Backlash, and she bets that Becky will only do it with the title on the line, so she's on. Lynch tries to welcome her to the big time, but Valkyria cuts her off and says she made herself matter and she's not interested in being the next Becky Lynch. She's gonna be a better person and she already knows she's a better wrestler. Lynch starts screaming abuse at her and Lyra cuts her off with a dropkick and throws her into the ring for a brawl, and Becky bails and runs out through the crowd. Penta is backstage with Nick Aldis and Aldis tells him to calm down and he knows he wants payback, so he's not going to fine him, but that can't happen again. Penta agrees and Nick has good news for him. He's booked a match for him against JD McDonough next week. Chad Gable and Ivy Nile roll up and Gable mocks him for dropping the big one at WrestleMania. But no, Penta losing wasn't his favorite part. It was watching his useless brother Phoenix drop his first match to El Grande Americano. That gets Penta's dander up and he lays Chad out with an enzwajiri, calls him an asshole, and tells him not to mess with the Lucha Brothers. Rusev gets a hype reel about how he had it all and lost himself, falling into the abyss on his way home to Bulgaria after he left WWE. The abyss is where he found himself, healed himself, redeemed himself, and realized he'd no longer fight for a woman that isn't his or a flag that no longer is. He had an epiphany and realized he was free to crush people because he wanted to, and he will use his jacked body for good. He tells his brothers their lack of suffering ends now, he's the tempest rolling in, he will hunt them, forgive them, and fix them. Then we saw a match between Ivy Nile versus Stephanie Baker, and the result of this match was Stephanie Baker defeated Ivy Nile by pinfall with SBB. Backstage, Nick Aldis meets with AJ Styles and says he knows WrestleMania didn't go how he wants, but if anybody can make a comeback he knows it's Styles, so he's got a long list of potential opponents for him. Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, and Dominic Mysterio roll up together and Liv reminds Nick that she needs time off to go film a movie and he says he's well aware and all the paperwork has been fired. Dom says he wants time off because he's champion and he says so, and Aldis tells him no deal and he wants to go back to his chat with AJ. Styles and Mysterio snipe at each other and then Judgment Day leave and AJ and Nick are on the same page about Styles' next move. Cole informs us that Adam Pearce has suspended Gunther indefinitely and fined him an undisclosed amount of money. Pat says it's time for him to address the issue, and he climbs up on the announce desk and grabs a microphone. Pat says there's one man who's been with him since the day they met, and he just happens to be the greatest of all time, Michael Cole. He'll be loyal to Cole until he's in the soil, and if somebody's got something with him, they've got something with him too. And when that Austrian asshole got in Michael's face, he had no choice but to step up for his boy, and he's seen himself choked out all over the internet, and he's got people saying he shouldn't have done that to a former champion in his prime, but McAfee says fuck that, if he dies, he dies. You got a problem with Michael Cole, you got a problem with Pat McAfee, and he calls SmackDown's version of Adam Pearce down. Nick Aldis comes, and Aldis says he had a feeling he'd ask for that and he talked with Pearce on it ahead of time, and the suspension will not be lifted. The two of them are far too valuable to the company and they can't take that risk, but he has an alternative. They can lift the suspension and McAfee can get hands on Gunther in a sanctioned contest in a WWE ring. Pat McAfee vs. Gunther, one-on-one, at Backlash, and McAfee accepts the deal, drops the mic, and sits back down to the commentary desk. Sami Zayn is deep in thought backstage when main event Jey Uso rolls up. Jey tells him he loves him, Sami tells him he loves him back. They hug and Zayn says that's what he needed to hear and takes his leave while Uso looks on conflicted and gets dropped by cheap shot right hand from Logan Paul. Seth Rollins is in the ring to receive Sami Zayn's decision on the offer he made, and then comes Sami Zayn. Seth says when his baby girl was born, Sami was one of the first people he called, scared out of his wits, and Zayn gave him some of the best advice he's ever gotten and he'll forever be grateful for that, and he'd like to return the favor and give him a piece of advice that could save his life. Sami says he's been a target 1,000 times before, but he can't live with being blacklisted, blackballed, extorted, and strong-armed, and he won't be threatened. He will win a world title, and when he does, it won't be because of any favors, it'll be because he did it his way and he did it the right way, so as a friend, he respects and loves Seth, but he can go to hell. Then we saw a match between Braun Breaker vs. Sami Zayn, and the result of this match was Braun Breaker won the match by referee stoppage when Braun hits 3 back-to-back spear, and Sami falls out of the ring. Seth walks up to the ring and gives Braun a nod, and Michael Cole begs Paul Heyman to call him off, calls for Seth Rollins to do something, but they both stand by as Breaker continues his path of destruction. Referees and medics and road agents swarm. Road agent Jamie Noble backs Braun off and Seth takes him into the corner and says tonight is his first lesson, and there are people that deserve their empathy and compassion, but Sami made his bed, and Rollins hits a curb stomp to finish the beatdown, and the show goes off the air. How much you would rate this week's Monday Night Raw? Tell me in the comments. Do not forget to subscribe the channel, and thanks for watching.